Hello, my name is Ballen, and I'll be explaining how airplanes take off. There are three components in an aircraft that help achieve this: the wings, the tail, and the engine. First, we need to know what is Newton's first law. Newton's first law states that an object will remain at rest or in uniform motion in a straight line unless acted upon by an external force. Applying this to the aircraft, there must be a force generated that overcomes the force of gravity so that the airplane can fly. And this force is called lift. So let's talk about the wings of an aircraft. The wings are shaped in a way to generate a lift force. This shape is called an airfoil. When an airplane moves forward, it creates an airstream. When the airplane moves in the same direction as the airstream, a downwash is produced which generates lift. This means that more pressure is being exerted on the bottom of the wing than the top, and thus generating lift. The angle at which the wing is tilted is called the angle of attack. Generally, the higher the angle of attack, the greater the downwash is, and thus producing more lift. Similarly, the lower the angle is, the less lift it generates. So let's talk about the next component of the aircraft, which is the tail. There are flaps called elevators located at the tail of the plane. They control the vertical forces that act on the tail and therefore control the pitch. This is what describes the rotational motion along its center of gravity which the aircraft experiences. This rotation is what determines if the aircraft goes up or down. When the elevator is tilted up, forces are produced in the upwards direction at the nose of the plane and in the downward direction at the tail of the plane, which then moves the airplane in the upward direction. If the elevator is tilted down, vice versa. Now for the final component, the engines. When the airplane is on the ground, it isn't moving. Again, referring to Newton's first law, the engines provide a thrust force that moves the airplane in the horizontal direction. This motion creates an airstream. Engines are also used to counter the force of drag, which produces force in the opposite direction of the thrust force. Engines produce thrust by pulling air inside the engine and pushing the air back out in the opposite direction of the force. The air inside the engine is compressed and mixed with the fuel to turn into hot air. This hot air is then pushed out of the back of the engine and thus produces thrust. All three components are key in the takeoff of an airplane. There are factors that come into play when a plane takes off. These include the speed of the aircraft, the angle of attack, and the pitching motion of the plane. When combining all three components of the aircraft, the engines generate motion, which generates an airstream, which then allows the wings to produce a lift force and allows the tail to increase the angle of attack by pitching the aircraft upwards. Therefore, the plane takes off.